is you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well, the majority will not.
What do Prince and Malcolm-Jamal Warner have in common? They refused to bow, and they paid the price. According to Katt Williams, Hollywood doesn't punish talent, it punishes rebellion. And if Katt is right, their stories aren't just tragedies, they're warnings. Two of the most respected and talented black men in entertainment. One, a music icon whose sound, style, and genius shattered every limit the industry tried to place on him. The other, a beloved actor who grew up on America's TV screens, maturing in front of our eyes and earning a place in our hearts. Both men were masters of their craft. Both were principled to the core. Both fiercely guarded their dignity and refused to let the bright lights of fame blind them to their own worth. And yet, in the shadows of Hollywood, where power is concentrated in the hands of a select few, this very integrity became their greatest threat. According to comedian Katt Williams, himself no stranger to calling out the system, both of these men eventually found themselves standing toe-to-toe with the industry's most powerful and untouchable gatekeepers. Men and women who decide whose careers rise, whose careers fall, and whose voices get silenced altogether. We're talking about Prince and Malcolm-Jamal Warner, two stars in very different worlds, but both carrying the same dangerous trait: the refusal to bow, to conform, to play by the unspoken rules. And if Katt Williams is right, that resistance didn't just cost them opportunities. It may have cost them everything. Katt Williams has never been shy about speaking truth as he sees it. For years, he's been one of the loudest and most fearless voices in entertainment, calling out the very system that signs the checks and shapes the careers of Hollywood's biggest names. In interview after interview, he lays it bare. There is an inner circle, a network of powerful insiders who quietly pull the strings. They decide which actors become household names, which musicians dominate the charts, and just as importantly, which voices vanish without a trace. These are the gatekeepers. And to hear Katt tell it, their loyalty isn't to talent, it's obedience. Among Katt's most controversial claims is what he calls the dress ritual. He says it's a rite of passage for black male entertainers, a subtle yet deliberate demand to play roles that emasculate them, humiliate them, or turn them into walking caricatures. The implication is simple. If you agree, you're in. If you refuse, you're out. It's not just a joke, Katt once said, leaning forward in an interview, his voice sharp with conviction. It's a test. You either wear the dress or they dress you down. Those who go along get a seat at the table. Those who refuse, their phone stops ringing. It's a pattern Katt Williams says is as old as Hollywood itself, and Malcolm-Jamal Warner knew it firsthand. For millions of viewers, Warner will forever be Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, the charming, grounded, relatable older brother America grew up with in its living rooms. But when the cameras weren't rolling, Warner was more than just an actor playing a role. He was a man deeply conscious of the image he projected, especially as a black man in an industry too quick to recycle harmful stereotypes. He was offered roles, some lucrative, that demanded he play the fool, the bumbling sidekick, or the comic relief designed to make audiences laugh at him, not with him. He turned them down. He avoided scripts that reduced black men to one-dimensional caricatures. To Warner, dignity wasn't negotiable. It was a principled stand, but one that came with a cost. In interviews before his death, Warner admitted he had become, in his own words, too principled for Hollywood's taste. The roles stopped coming. The auditions disappeared. And in the coded language of the industry, too principled quickly became difficult. It's the quiet exile Katt Williams warns about. No public blacklisting, no formal announcement, just a slow, deliberate fading from the spotlight, until the industry can pretend you were never there at all. If Warner's fight was about roles, Prince's was about ownership. Ownership of the very music he created. For him, this wasn't just about royalties or contracts. It was about creative freedom, artistic control, and the right to decide how his life's work would be used, heard, and remembered. Prince's war with the record industry has become the stuff of legend. For years, he battled Warner Brothers, the label that helped turn him into a global superstar, but refused to give him control of his own master recordings. Those masters, the original recordings from which all copies are made, are the crown jewels of any musician's career. Without them, the artist has no real control over how or when their music is used, and Warner Brothers knew it. Prince, however, refused to accept that. In an act of defiance the world would never forget, he stepped onto the stage with a single word scrawled in black across his cheek.
Another famous quote from his interview with Rolling Stone, Prince said, "If I can't do what I want to do, what am I? When you stop a man from dreaming, he becomes a slave. That's where I was. I don't own Prince's music. If you don't own your masters, your master owns you."
It was a message to the industry, to the public, and to anyone paying attention. Even a man of his stature could be shackled by corporate contracts. "If I can't do what I want to do, what am I?" he once asked. When you stop a man from dreaming, he becomes a slave. To Prince, those weren't just words, they were a manifesto. Every performance, every interview, every legal challenge became part of his crusade to reclaim what was his. He wasn't simply fighting for himself, he was fighting for every artist who had ever been told they didn't own the very thing they created. Finally, in April 2014, after decades of fighting, Prince won. His masters were returned to him. The very recordings he had poured his soul into. It was a victory few artists had ever achieved, a triumph of persistence over corporate control. For Prince, it should have been the beginning of a new chapter. Instead, it became the prelude to the end. 2 years later, almost to the day, he was gone. Prince had always been famously suspicious of the music business. He spoke openly about its corruption, its predatory contracts, and its tendency to strip artists of both wealth and power. As part of his independence, he removed his entire catalog from nearly every streaming service, except one, Jay-Z's Tidal. He struck a deal, giving them exclusive rights to a single album, Hit and Run, for 90 days. But after his death in April 2016, his estate accused Roc Nation of streaming far more than what was agreed, without permission. Then came the official report: accidental fentanyl overdose, caused by counterfeit Vicodin pills. Authorities ruled out foul play, but to his fans and to fellow artists like Kanye West, the story didn't sit right.
Kanye West even suggesting that both Michael Jackson and Prince were killed and that he almost suffered the same fate. Kanye posted a photo of Prince with the word slave on his face and wrote, "Let's get it big."
Kanye even suggested that both Michael Jackson and Prince had been taken out by the industry itself. The timing was hard to ignore. Prince had just regained control of his masters. He had effectively cut the record labels out of the profits from his work. And now, suddenly, he was gone. "He went against the powers that be," one fan remarked bitterly. "And suddenly he's a drug addict? Yeah, right." Katt Williams believes it's no coincidence. He's claimed Prince told friends he felt like a target once he got his masters back. And to Katt, this wasn't an isolated case. It fit a pattern. That's why he links Prince's story to Malcolm-Jamal Warner's. Different industries, same rules, same consequences. Then came July 2025. Warner drowned while on vacation in Costa Rica. Officials called it an accident. But almost immediately, whispers began. Monique, Eddie Griffin, and others hinted that Warner's refusal to compromise had made him a target. And this is what Katt has been warning about, a pattern. Michael Jackson, Dave Chappelle, Monique, Prince, Warner. Different talents, different eras. Same punishment for those who won't bow. Skeptics say these are just conspiracy theories, tragic coincidences, not calculated moves by unseen hands. But when so many gifted voices vanish too soon, and when the ones who speak out all tell eerily similar stories, the doubt lingers. What's certain is this: Prince and Malcolm-Jamal Warner stood for something far bigger than personal fame. They weren't just entertainers chasing applause or chart positions. They were men who valued their integrity more than their careers, who refused to let the bright lights of Hollywood blind them to their own worth. They would not compromise their dignity. They would not hand over control of their art, their image, or their legacy, no matter how much easier it would have made their lives. And for that, they paid a steep price. Maybe this isn't about conspiracy, maybe it's about control. Control over the stories that are told, over the images that are shown, over the money that flows, and ultimately, over who gets to keep their seat at the table. And maybe the cost of refusing to play along is exactly what we've seen time and time again. Silence, erasure, or worse. So I'll ask you, what do you think? Was this all just an unfortunate chain of tragic events? Or is Katt Williams pulling back the curtain on a truth Hollywood would rather keep buried? Could it be that the industry's smiles in public hide sharper teeth in private? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation doesn't end here. And as you watch the next headline flash across your screen, keep your eyes open. Hollywood shadows run deep, and sometimes what's hiding in them is far darker than we want to believe. That said, thanks for watching, and until next time.